Our first 7 million videos we did, which was years ago, the average response time to a video was 2 minutes, 37 seconds. So response time improved. 8 billion videos a day are watched just on Facebook alone. So if we think about TikTok and YouTube and everything, the amount of hours someone's watching video today is just the way people take in information, right? And then there's like 2 trillion texts are done a year, and texting has become a great experience for customers as well. So, the goal for me has always been, why don't we connect great businesses with their best customers?
Welcome to Retention Roadmap, navigating service success for new car dealerships. Today, I'm excited to welcome Joe Shaker, the CEO of Shaker Auto Group and the visionary founder of TruVideo. With decades of experience in the automotive industry, Joe has built a reputation for innovation and excellence, both as a dealership leader and as a technology entrepreneur. Through TruVideo, Joe has transformed how dealerships communicate with customers using video inspections to enhance transparency, build trust, and drive retention, which is what we're all about. In today's episode, we'll explore how this technology is reshaping service departments and elevating the customer experience. So let's get started. And Joe, welcome to the podcast. Glad you're here.
Hey, nice to be here, Bill. Appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. So let's just jump right into it, Joe. Tell us a little bit, as a dealer, a longtime dealer, what inspired you to start TruVideo, and really how does your experience in dealership operations influence really the solutions that TruVideo offers?
Well, there's a couple things there. The first thing is what inspired me to do this. And the joke I always say when I'm speaking at speaking engagements is I want to die a car dealer. And in order to do that, I realized we had to change the business and keep getting better and evolve and evolve. And I think dealers are very dynamic, and we can change and can move very quickly. So I just decided to call my best customers and ask them about service. And I called a bunch and I got great reviews. It was so great. I tell the story all the time. It was so good. They knew the advisor by name, bought a few cars. And then I did that detective question. I waited a minute and I said, thank you very much. One last question. Did you ever have any doubts? And every single customer paused and said, well, you're always going to have doubts, right? And that was where I realized that I don't really know any relationships where doubt is involved. Those aren't really part of great relationships. And then simultaneously, I went to another conference and I saw a CMO get up and on stage and talk about trust and transparency. And I kind of got tired of listening to people talk about things and not execute. So I said, well, let's give it a chance. And I had a friend I invested in a lot of private deals in, technologist, and I said, could you help me build this? I want to try this at my dealerships. I tried it out. We got rave reviews from the customers. The sales went up, the CSI went up, and then I started putting it out through the 20 groups that I'm involved in and close dealer groups. And that's when it really started to explode. We got feedback from other people. And when we came up with it, we talked to 500 technicians, advisors. We were testing it at 50 plus stores. Mm-hmm. And that's how we kind of developed it. I didn't think that I knew everything. And my partner, who's a brilliant technologist, he didn't think he knew everything. And that's how we ended up. We developed it around all the thoughts, comments, and stuff that we got from dealers. It wasn't just us. And then it started showing up in OEM surveys, and the OEM started calling, going, what is this customer saying about video? What is that? I never heard of it, to where it's a requirement at multiple OEMs today. And like I said, we're trending 2.5 million video views a month by customers through TruVideo direct and partnerships. Many of the large software businesses in the US today are powered by TruVideo. So if we're not direct, we're embedded in large partners that use our technology.
Fantastic. I think whenever one implements something new inside a dealership service department, I think in my experience, the first constituency that really needs to buy in or be sold or to gain that commitment is the employees. And I'm curious, Joe, from your perspective, what has been the impact on, service advisors and technicians of doing video inspections, and how has it changed their day-to-day life within the dealership?
It's so funny you say that because at first we literally had to convince people to do it, you know?
Yeah.
And so you get in there and the standard thing is one third of the technicians pick it up real quickly. One third come on in about 6 weeks. And then the holdouts, which are the long-term master certified techs, they ultimately pick it up and become the strongest advocates.
Hmm.
It's the weirdest thing. I just heard it today from a dealer who called me to ask me advice, and all he could talk about was his old tech that was the worst to adopt, and now he's the biggest proponent. And it seems to happen like that all the time. With the advisors, you know, it's just it's just easy because they can see what the technician is doing, then they could forward that to the client. And so it's kind of like an internal communication tool as well.
Hmm.
And that's really been really good. And then we track everything. So when the customer, our first 7 million videos we did, which was years ago, the average response time to a video was 2 minutes, 37 seconds. So response time improved. Um, and then all sorts of new things started coming up and we started solving more and more and more problems. And it was pretty incredible. At the same time, I have to admit, I did get very lucky because I was going to say customer behavior, but I shouldn't. I should say human behavior was 8 billion videos, 8 billion videos a day are watched just on Facebook alone. So
Wow.
if we think about TikTok and YouTube and everything,
Yep.
the amount of hours someone's watching video today is just the way people take in information, right? So we started going down this transparency and trust, see and understand, and then there's like 2 trillion texts are done a year, and texting has become a great experience for customers as well. So we did have some wind in our sails. We picked the right lanes, but we're finally executing. And the goal for me has always been, why don't we connect great businesses with their best customers?
Hmm.
And the problem was communication the whole time. So my common phrase I tell dealers all the time when they're asking me about embedding it, I go, well, earlier it was like, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be $60, $70 a repair order more, and your retention's going to go up and your customer experience scores are going to go up. Today it's like table stakes, right? If you don't do it, people know. Like people will go up to dealers and go, how come you don't do video like my other dealership? So now it's become the norm, and it's a little different of a adoption curve
Hmm.
than it used to be.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little bit
Interesting.
different.
I'm curious, you mentioned retention, and do you have any insights that you're able to share, Joe, with respect to, when you talk about that customer behavior, or as you put it, that human behavior, what correlations do you see with a customer that does interact with video and their likelihood of returning, for their next maintenance visit or returning back again and again to the service department? Do you have any insights that you might be able to share with us on that?
So the specific retention numbers, I can't give you and say, hey, we went from 62 to 74 or
Hmm.
45 to 55.
Sure.
But I'll tell you, you know who the best at video is? The OEM that's the best at video does 74% video views by customers. And those analytics we created actually. So customer facing, we think it's warranty and we think that it's customer pay. So
Hmm.
if you have 100 customer pay and warranty repair orders combined and you create 85 videos, that's an 85% take rate. And then there's a send rate and then a view rate. And the ultimate goal is to be plus 75% view rate because it
Okay.
doesn't matter if the customer doesn't view it.
Right.
So one of the OEMs is at a mid 70s view rate. They're the number one OEM right now. And on JD Powers, the last 3 years, they went from number 11 to number 3 in 1 year on SSI. Then they went from number 3 to number 2. And this is a brand that's never been over the halfway mark ever.
Mm.
So their scores are way up there. They're in the top 3 to 4 every year. They've never been over the halfway mark. And they simply changed the way they communicate. You're even rewarded, how OEMs that pay behind the line monies are starting to reward behaviors instead of scores because scores are manipulated. It's like, tell me what score you need. So that's really been the crux of the matter. And there's a couple of experience things that are happening too that video fixed. And by the way, these are things I did not realize when I started. I just wanted people to see and understand. And I always share my journey with people. The first one was we recognized 34% of videos were being shared. And that's when we started really getting into customer engagements because I was so used to websites, time on site, bounce rate. And now I was looking at data engagements in a conversation around a real transaction with a real person that I knew, not an IP
Yep.
address. This is
Yeah.
like, wow, this is great data.
Yeah.
Well, what we figured out was that basically just over a third of customers were not the decision maker or they were the co-decision maker.
Yeah.
And so we said, wow, this is crazy. Let's go to a dealership and see how we do it today. So we go to dealerships, we're checking out like 4 or 5 of them. And we found out that technicians were making 5 recommendations. Advisors were watering them down to 3 for 2 reasons. One, they were afraid to tell the customer the price and thinking with their wallet, not the customer's. And the second one was they thought the technician was overselling. And we were like, God, we were trying to fix trust with the customer. There's an internal trust problem at the dealership. So the 5 went to 3. They verbally called the customer. The customer couldn't remember tie rod tie, whatever. Then they would call a significant other, confidant, brother, sister, whatever, father, mother, whatever. And it would be Swahili. It was like playing phone game as kids. And
Yep.
we couldn't even get a color and an animal correct at the end of 10 kids. We forget about automobile things. So it was very interesting. We would go to dealers and say, hey, which was more impactful to your bottom line, the customer seeing and understanding, or the fact that we fixed the communication chain and everybody received the same transparent message through the whole chain from the doctor and not the receptionist? And they go, well, it's both. It has to be both.
Yeah.
I can't tell you which one is more powerful for us.
Yeah.
So that was a learning. I was like, well, I never thought of that, never even considered it. So
Yeah.
the other thing that I learned is this asynchronous communication, another human behavior. I'll give you a crazy example, and you're going to understand it the minute I tell you. If I put you on hold for 1 minute, 30 seconds because people hypertask or multitask, it feels like I'm holding you hostage, right? Like I'm on a phone, I can't do anything else, But I could text you back 6 minutes later, which is 400% longer, and you're going to pick up your phone and go, oh, great, they just got back to me.
Right.
That's kind of crazy, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
going to get back to you later and you're going to love it, right?
Yeah.
So this asynchronous communication has created great experiences. So when it comes to retaining customers, it's really about affecting and effectuating trust, not talking about it. It's not a theory. We're executing on it. It's tracking the customer's interaction. The minute they open the video, it shows the customer opened the video. I know that as an advisor. So I'm being engaged. You don't just engage customers, you need to engage employees. Tango is 2 people. And so it's great because now the advisor's like lit up and say, oh, okay, Bill just opened the video. I'm expecting a call, but if he doesn't call, I'm just going to reach out to Bill in a minute and ask him if he saw the video. So it's really all these little details in fixing communication, in the way humans interact, but also in a way in which, we're able to operate the business in a more efficient manner.
Sure. Absolutely. I know that when our listeners hear this interview, it'll be after NADA when we're recording this just before. But we're both headed to NADA this year, and you're going to be speaking on a number of panels about key best practices that service departments should adopt in 2025 in order to continue to grow and thrive. I'm just curious in terms of, from your perspective, Joe, what are some of those best practices that are on your radar that you think are going to have an impact on dealerships in the coming year or two?
So I'll talk to you like I'm talking to my general managers in my weekly GM meeting I have very early on Tuesdays because I spend so much of my time now, all of it practically at TruVideo. But the way I'd say is that we're building out a plan for 2025. How are we going to drive sales per repair order, right? Because if you look at running a service department and retention, I look at 3 factors that ultimately add up to my revenue. Number 1 is dollars per repair order,
Mm-hmm.
multiplied by how many visits I get per customer. So do you come in once a year or 2 times a year? That's big. And how many regulars do I have? And if my regulars those are retained customers are 2,000, then it's pretty simple. 2,000 times 2 is 4,000 times the same. Now that's multiplier, by the way. You could adjust one or two of those numbers
Yep.
and your revenue will go up by 40 plus, 50 plus percent.
Yep.
So where we come in with video, and the way I would suggest you do it is I would just look at the math and see the big ROI that you get. Stand down the customer experience. Just look at the money part, right? Just be selfish for a minute. And then I would look at it and say, what do we need to do to execute? And I would start off, if you haven't done video before, and I would look at ways to incentivize the team to launch. Because once they start getting a lot of yeses, they're going to keep taking videos.
Mm-hmm.
So the 1.0 for video is to build up your utilization and percentage of videos viewed. And when you get your utilization and percentage of video views, that's 1.0. 2.0 is quality of messages, right? Because it's a really big difference. It's just like in sales. If I answer the phone and go, "Can I help you?" Right? It's different than say, "Hey, welcome to, Shaker Family Ford." And there's different ways. So the communication and how we, the quality of the communication is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have the car on the lift? Did I start off by showing him their license plate? And we have a book that we put out. I think it's like $6 on Amazon we made, and it shows the journey and some of the things I'm telling you, and it shows the standard. The customer recognizes, go around the car. We developed a pause button just because we know we live in a soundbite world, and we need the video to not be long. We don't want someone taking a Dramamine or getting seasick because we're running around. So when we start, we get on the back, we do the license plate, it's your car. We walk around and describe things. We let the customer know, we're going to just put you on pause, lower the vehicle, and then we're going to show you under the hood. That allows us to pause, lower the vehicle, take the filters out so that we can have, just as if we have the customer in the bay with us, how would we describe it, right? And then we go through there. We then thank them for bringing their car in, let them know the advisor will reach out to them with any of the recommendations and pricing. And thanks for doing business with us.
Sure.
So that quality video just getting videos out is like $50 a repair order. So if you're doing 600 customer pays a month, that's 30 grand. If you do quality videos, it's even an explosion on that. Most people start off with volume, then they get the quality. And that's not counting parts, by the way. Obviously, 60, 70, 80 cents on the dollar, depending on if you're domestic, if there's repair work versus maintenance work. So I think those are the suggestions. It's very basic blocking and tackling. And then you could decide whether to send the video to the advisor where they can see it first and send it, or many dealers, that are on quarter time and managing stuff do direct send to customers.
Right.
And then they have the technicians respond. The advisors start responding when they see the customers are opening.
Yep. Yep.
Saves time.
Yeah, it's a great way of looking at it. I like the fact that you've distilled it down to a couple of key performance indicators that you can, push and pull the levers on and see some pretty significant impact on, and especially I like the fact that, hey, let's focus on our core customers, those ones who are loyal and are coming back on a regular basis. And it doesn't take a whole lot to move, say, a frequency of visit from, 1.85 to 1.9 is a tremendous impact on your top line sales at the end of the year. Just from, moving that just a few days makes a big difference.
And what's funny, Bill, is you talk about retention, right? That's your wheelhouse. But so for me, I look at a warranty customer coming in and we require they get a video. Because when I did that equation for you, I said you had 2,000 regulars. But what if you could convert a bunch of your people that come in just for warranty, not to just spend money that time? I want you to change from a coming in just for warranty to become one of my regulars, because my goal is to have the 2,000 regulars be 3,000 regulars.
Yep.
So if I'm moving 3,000 regulars, if I'm moving sales per repair order up, and if I'm getting multiple visits, you literally will double your service business, and your mind can't get around that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My famous saying at 20 Group, the guys tease me all the time, is a little plus a little plus a little equals a lot, and that's how we work in the auto business.
That's right.
In service, especially.
So true. So true. I'm curious. I want to ask you about tires, Joe, because a couple of different reasons. We all know how critically important tires are towards customer retention, and we know that if a customer, if they have especially an unplanned need for tires, and if they wind up going somewhere else other than a dealership, there's a good chance we may never see that customer again. And one of the key things that I am emphasizing in an NADA workshop that I'm doing in 2 weeks is you cannot over communicate to your customers about tires. It's impossible to over communicate on it. We did a survey in 2023 where we surveyed about 1,400 active customers of new car dealership service departments. And we asked them, does the dealership where you service your vehicle sell tires? And almost a third of the responses were either no, which was inaccurate, or I'm not sure. So there's this big opportunity for improvement amongst awareness in the consumer's mind that yes, the dealership does sell tires and they are the best source for tires. And in my opinion, I think the best way in which to raise one of the best ways in which to raise that awareness in the consumer's mind is inspections and making sure that those inspections are reviewed with the vehicle owner, that they know what the condition of their tires are, and that the dealership is the best source for tires when they do have a need, whether that's immediate or next month or next year or whatever the case may be. I'm curious if you can speak to, Joe, how TruVideo has helped dealers, raise that awareness of tires amongst their customers and ultimately, hopefully, increase their tire sales and customer retention in the long term.
Yeah, well, you hit on a really key thing there. And in my dealerships throughout New England, um, we don't really mark our tires up a lot because my largest fear is losing customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, back in the day, they'd call it around the wheel, or, that was the defection point, was the tires, right? So I think all the dealers know that now, but evidently they don't if we just saw that survey for a third of the customers. The real secret is a great inspection. And this is where the quality comes in. If I go around the car and I go, car looks good, your tire size is, 3/32, and I just mumble and I'm not even giving you the numbers. If I'm not using a tire gauge, if I'm not explaining what does that mean, right? What is the number? Is that 12 when it's in good shape and 3 when
Right.
it's in bad shape? And like, it's not just seeing is believing. I always say video helps people see and understand. Now, one thing everybody forgets, and I always have to bring it up when I talk about video, is there's video, but there's also the narrative. There's someone talking, all right? And we were okay years ago with pictures and all typed out words that no one read, right? So the real secret is that's where quality comes in. And when you go around the vehicle explaining to a customer, what does that size mean? What does, as you can see on the inside of this tire, we're suggesting a rotation, we're suggesting an alignment. Many tires are replaced by our customers, not because they wore out, but because they wore uneven, right? So when you're showing a video and you're seeing what's happening, it's easy for your mind to say, hey, I see what happens and I can explain this, but let me help them understand what I mean when I throw out a number. Because
Mm-hmm.
customers don't understand the size, even when you throw a gauge. So quality is incredibly, incredibly important. Incredibly important. And this is our chance, by the way. If you look at multi-point inspections, my joke is 40 years ago, we started doing multi-point inspections because 70% of customers defected after the warranty expired. We wanted to retain these customers. Fast forward to today, 40 years, 70% of customers are defecting after the warranty expired. We've been doing the same thing and getting the same exact result. So the inspection is incredibly important to walk around the vehicle, record the metrics, do an assessment, and then get those data points down. But it's never, ever been the right way to communicate to a customer,
Yeah.
right? So that's really the power today is that multi-point inspection behavior, writing all those down. Then there's the communication of it. Video is the transparency, but the words you say helping me understand. What does it mean if I'm at a 4? When I get a new tire, what's the size of that? Right? If it were new. And people love to learn, and we follow we listen to all the phrases. We have sentiment analysis. We can see when people go, I love the way he explained the size. And what we do is we try to take those comments and we shoot those back to the technician on positive sentiment. And then the technicians get to see what they're doing right.
Yeah.
And it gives them really great positive reinforcement.
Good feedback
loop. Tires are so key. But you gave me the best example of a quality video versus here we go. Here's the size, and then these are these, and I didn't take the brakes off to show you the size of the brakes because you can't see inside. Effort is important in every career.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Joe, you've been very generous with your time. Before I let you go, I do want to ask about, you mentioned earlier integration, and from your perspective, what role does integration and vendor partnerships play in really maximizing the effectiveness of service lane technology like TruVideo?
Well, I got to tell you, it's pretty. We started off and developed this reputation with the OEMs of, hey, what is it we should be looking for? What are these new data sets on customer engagements? And we built this really good quality software. I mean, even our buttons were big. We knew technicians wore gloves. We did all these different things. And so we developed this reputation, and then the large companies that sell the service lane solutions came to us and said, we can't keep up. And so the way I like to put it, Bill, is if you look at software vendors we deal with today, 98% of their development surrounds workflow.
Mm-hmm.
They develop to the workflow. But you and I would agree that 98% of customer experience is how well or how poorly you communicate, right? So where we stepped in was we said, we'll spend 100% of our time on communication. We have AI that we can text back and forth in Spanish. We give suggested phrases. So when you go, yup, come grab the car in all caps, it changes it to yes, 5 would be perfect, right? And we do all these great things. We do the videos. We have all these new things that we're releasing this year to point things out to customers and summaries. We have transcriptions at the bottom, not just for ADA compliance, but a customer could be in a meeting and read and then approve the work. Otherwise, I have to take the car off the lift, pull it out in the yard, wait for the customer to get out of the meeting, then call me back. These are the stuff that I know as a dealer.
Sure.
That crushes productivity.
Yep.
So when we do all these things, and then we're able to take the summaries of what was said by the technician, we're able to analyze what the customer says. So we'll focus 100% on communication. The vendor or the software partner can spend 100% of their time perfecting their workflows and things that they're missing in whether it's ASR or whether it's inspection, whatever it is. And then we come together and we provide the dealer and end customer with a product that's way better. There's no way I could focus on workflows and give you a nice service tool and then be an expert at communication simultaneously.
Yeah.
And our partnership is with the largest out there.
Yeah.
So, and we sell direct and mostly just straight up communication for dealers that don't use full SLT. But on the full SLTs, we probably have 70+% of the videos being done or through TruVideo in the whole country.
Great. Yep. No, I think that that sounds like a fantastic strategy, and it's certainly working. Joe, again, thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate your time. If any of our listeners do want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, just shoot me an email, joe@TruVideo, TruVideo.com, joe@TruVideo.com. And, if I can't answer the question, I'll point you in the right direction. And look, I'm a dealer, right? So I love helping other dealers. I'm in multiple 20 groups. I love talking shop with guys like you, Bill. And just reach out to me and I'll do whatever I can. And you as well, Bill. If you ever need anything in terms of video, we'd love to share any of the stuff with you because I love what you're doing, going out there, helping people, saying like, we've got a great business. We give away razors to sell the blades.
Yep.
Let's keep all the customers buying the blades from us and taking care of them.
Amen. Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that very much. We'll include your email address in the show notes. And thanks again so much. We really appreciate you being on the show.
Love being here.
You've been listening to Retention Roadmap, Navigating Service Success for New Car Dealerships. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.